Welcome to Connecting the Community podcast. I am your host, Marge Andre. I will be connecting you to people, organizations, and events that create community. I am creating this podcast in Richmond Hill, an eclectic and very culturally diverse community with lots of trees and streams and interesting people, just up the hill from Toronto. On this podcast, I am talking with Oak Ridge's author, Yvonne Blackwood. It was June of last year when I talked to her last about her previous book. Actually, it was her memoir. But she has just published her first full-length adult fiction, The Ambition. So welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Marge. I was just going to say I would listen to several episodes and I do enjoy your easygoing style.
Thank you very much. Easygoing, I am looking forward to our conversation that we're going to have right now. So, got some questions for you. Really interested in how and why you wrote this book. But first, can you introduce yourself? You haven't always been a writer.
Okay, sure. Well, hello, listeners. I'm Yvonne Blackwood. I'm the author of 4 nonfiction books and a newly released novel. I've also published 3 children's picture books. I'm a columnist, I'm a short story writer, and I'm also a retired banker who worked for the Royal Bank for 37 years and held positions that included bank manager, community banking advisor, and commercial credit advisor. I've lived in Richmond Hill for 19 years, but in York Region for 33 years.
Okay, so thank you for that. Now, you told us in your memoir about going back to university as an older adult. I don't use the word senior. Okay, you got your degree in English.
Yes.
And you told us about your writing journey. I don't believe it ended when you got your degree. I believe you are still actively honing your writing skills.
You are correct, Marge. I continue to write and hone my writing skills, hence this new novel. My writing journey began in 1998, after I returned from my first journey to Africa. When I returned to Canada after the trip, I invited some friends over for dinner and shared my photographs and anecdotes about the journey. They insisted that I share the story with the world. Write a book about it, they said. After deliberating on the idea and doing some research, I explored the writing industry, read extensively about writing, attended workshops, and joined the Canadian Authors Association. And in 2000, I published my first book, Into Africa, A Personal Journey. I have not stopped writing since that publication.
Ooh, okay, I like that story. Okay, we will talk about your book, but the ambition. But
Yes.
I'm interested to hear about your writing. Where do you actually do your writing? Do you have the same desk? Do you have yourself write for certain hours? Do you sometimes get up in the middle of the night to write?
I write at different places in the house.
Okay.
But since I had surgery in 2021, I write mainly at my dining table. I used to write at my desk. And by the way, I usually write everything in longhand first and then type it on my computer. Years ago, I used to write late into the wee hours of the morning. But since retirement, and I'm at home 24/7, I write mainly in the daytime now. Sometimes ideas do come to me late in the night, and I keep a writing pad on my night table. So I usually just jot down the idea and then expand on it the next day.
That sounds like a good idea. Okay, I'm glad you're not wandering around the house at 3
No.
a.m. Okay. Okay. So this is your first full-length adult fiction. What prompted you to do it?
Okay, so after I published my first book in 2000, which is a memoir, I always wanted to write fiction,
Hmm.
but life stories always popped into my head, so I kept writing nonfiction. I must tell you a secret. I had the idea for this novel from some 20 years ago. I actually wrote the novel 20 years ago, but I just never found the time to polish it up until now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would not have guessed that. Okay. Central to the story is immigration from Italy. You're not
Yes.
Italian. Why Italy? But I do believe you're an immigrant. So are there parallels? Like tell us about this immigration stories.
Okay. So during my long banking career, I met and became friends with people from many countries and cultures. I developed a special bond with several delightful Italians and learned a lot about their culture. Yes, I'm an immigrant. I immigrated from Jamaica. And yes, there are some parallels. Italians struggled and were treated badly by Anglo Canadians in the early 1900s. Blacks struggled and are still treated badly sometimes. Italians had to do backbreaking menial jobs when they arrived after World War II. Blacks also had to do menial jobs in those days. So there's the parallel.
Okay. I really do believe that your banking experiences are very evident in the story, correct?
Yes, my goodness, Marge, you truly honed in on that one.
Mhm.
Yes, I was able to inject some hard banking facts into the story. I think it's helpful.
I knew that you were a banker from many of the stories and the conversations you had there. Okay. Uh, in reading the novel, I had to think about some of the current news about developers not wanting to build until they could make enough money. Uh, do you want the readers to think this way, this financialization of the housing market?
No, not really. As you know, fiction is a made-up story. However, as a writer, you want it to seem as authentic as possible. Of course, the story is set in Toronto, and I mention real places like Yonge Street and the Don Valley Parkway. But I deliberately concocted the small town of Santaridge to add some mystery and to avoid readers trying to connect the story with people they know or think they know.
Okay, yeah, this I was wondering why you invented this place. Like, was it Oak Ridge's, Woodbridge? It's like a little bit of everything. So
Well, I hope everybody's guessing just like you because it's a fictional place.
yeah, okay. I can think of other stories that have done the same thing. So just yeah, I can understand why you've done that. Okay. Uh it's not just a novel about banking and financial things. There's romance, there's murders, and mystery. You really created some tension in the story. Is that difficult to do?
I wouldn't say it's difficult to create tension because uh, this novel is the main category is a thriller crime story. But a novel is no good without conflict. Conflict is what keeps readers turning the pages. So I had to inject conflict and tension. What's difficult about that is that you have to build it up to a climax, and then you have to resolve whatever the issues are.
Okay.
That's the difficult part.
Okay. Is that something you would be doing in your writing classes and that?
Yes, in most of the books that you read on writing and classes that you may attend or seminars you may attend, conflict is always a big discussion because, like you said, you when you write nonfiction, which are true stories, you don't have to inject conflict in it. If conflict is there, yes, you put it there. But for fiction, any novel at all, that's what it's all about. It's the conflict and the resolution of that conflict.
Hmm. Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, I I paid attention to many of the details, the descriptions that you included. You talked about decor, fashion. Do you sometimes struggle to know what amount or what type of details that you should be including?
Yes, I actually do. I do check carefully how much detail I include. As a writer, you try to paint a picture for the readers. As they say, show, don't tell, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, you have to acknowledge that readers are bright, intelligent people. So you don't have to include everything like the kitchen sink. You leave certain things for them to imagine and envision. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I don't read a lot of fiction and historical fiction, so I'm wondering, is there an popular author that you would compare your book to?
You know, Marge, that's an excellent question. My writing style, and I do not try to copy anyone. My favorite fiction author is John Grisham.
Mm,
I love his legal thrillers. I try to be somewhat casual in writing like he does, but the style is my own.
okay. So- Okay, to aspire to John Grisham sounds really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay. So your novel just got released. And I'll put some links in the podcast notes. You can go on to Amazon.ca and put in Yvonne Blackwood, The Ambition, and you will find it. So yeah, I'm very happy for you that it happens. Let's see how your book sales go.
Yes,
But
thank you.
now this book is published. Like, what are you doing? You're not sitting there doing nothing. I don't expect that you've quit writing. So what's next?
Well, you're so right. I don't think I'll ever quit writing. I love it.
Hmm.
It has saved my sanity this past 4 years.
Yep.
I'm not sure what I'll do next. My focus now is to market the novel as best as I can.
Yep.
And of course, being on your podcast today helps to get the word out. After the marketing has slowed down a bit, I will probably think of writing something else. I actually have another novel that I wrote some years ago that I could probably revisit, but I may not. You have
Yep.
to go, you go with the mood, go with the spirit.
Okay. I like that. And yeah, just curious what you were up to, and if a year from now I'll be you're on. Let's do another podcast. So okay, because I so enjoy doing these. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the listeners?
Well, I just want to mention that this week, starting today, the 16th of September to the 23rd of September, is my official book launch week. So I'm so grateful that I'm on the podcast today.
Hmm.
There will be a lot of activity on social media. This morning, I spent quite a bit of time posting my book trailer. Oh, Marge, you have to see that.
Okay.
I also have a GoodReads giveaway going on. It's good for both Canadian and Americans. I'm giving away 10 signed copies of the book. So I hope some of your listeners will enter that giveaway. And that's really what the plan is. The giveaway, by the way, ends on the 18th, so you only have 2 days to enter.
Okay. And I saw that, and I'll put the link in and encourage people to take advantage and see if they're lucky with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So great. Um, as you know, since you, as well as being on the podcast, you listen to my podcasts. You know, I always end with the same question for all the guests. I'm going to ask you to name one thing you really like about this community. I'm not exactly certain what you said last time, so you can say the same thing or say something different.
Well, the last time I talked about the Oak Ridges Moraine and how much I love the wildlife,
Hmm.
I've become a bird watcher, backyard bird watcher. But I also want to add that I love the ongoing activities. I see your posts and I go through all the things that are happening. It's a very vibrant community, and I love that. Unfortunately, because of my mobility issues, I can't participate as I would love to, but I do pay attention to what's going on.
Okay, just knowing that all those things are
Are
happening around
happening.
you.
Yes.
Yes, no one can go to everything, but it's good to know that we do live in this interesting, enriching community. So
Yes.
thank you very much for saying that. So thank you, Yvonne, and I am so glad that we found the time to do this podcast, and we will keep in touch.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate you sharing this podcast. Please tune in next week as we continue to explore the community. Consider emailing me at Marj, M-A-R-J, at marjandre.com. I welcome suggestions for podcast guests. Stay well, stay connected.